Welcome to Golden Bachelor. If you love celebrity news and real entertainment updates, you're in the right place. What started as strategic gameplay on the Traitors quickly spiraled into one of the most unsettling moments of the season, leaving viewers stunned and cast members visibly shaken. The spotlight fell on Colton Underwood and Rinna after a heated exchange that changed the atmosphere inside the castle almost instantly. From the early episodes, Colton had positioned himself as calm, observant, and quietly calculating. He rarely raised his voice, but his presence carried weight. Rinna, on the other hand, brought her signature confidence and sharp instincts into the game, refusing to back down from confrontation. Their clash felt inevitable, but no one expected it to unfold the way it did. Tensions reached a boiling point during a late-night roundtable discussion. As alliances crumbled and suspicions grew, Lisa openly questioned Colton's loyalty, hinting that his silence was more dangerous than honesty. The room fell silent as Colton finally responded, not with anger, but with a measured, icy calm that sent chills through everyone present. Instead of outright accusations, Colton spoke in carefully chosen words, implying that those who underestimated him would soon regret it within the game. His tone was controlled, almost unsettling, as if he knew something others didn't. The moment wasn't loud or explosive, but it was heavy, the kind of silence that makes people uneasy. Lisa, never one to shy away, pushed back. She challenged his cryptic statements and demanded clarity, but Colton didn't give her what she wanted. Instead, he leaned into the mystery, reminding everyone that the Traitors is about patience, timing, and power, not emotional outbursts. Viewers immediately took to social media, describing the exchange as disturbing, intense, and hard to watch. Many noted that the darkness didn't come from shouting or insults, but from the psychological tension hanging in the air. It was a reminder that this game isn't just about votes, it's about mind games. Behind the scenes, cast members later admitted the mood shifted after that moment. Conversations became guarded, alliances felt fragile, trust evaporated. Lisa herself appeared more cautious in subsequent episodes, while Colton remained composed, almost distant, fueling speculation that he was playing a much deeper game. Fans remained divided. Some praised Colton's strategic restraint, calling it masterful gameplay. Others felt his approach crossed into uncomfortable territory, arguing that the intensity went beyond entertainment. Meanwhile, Lisa earned respect for standing her ground, even when the pressure was clearly mounting. Producers have since hinted that this confrontation marks a turning point in the season. The psychological stakes are higher than ever, and no one feels safe, not even the most confident players. As the Traitors continues, one thing is clear. This isn't just a competition anymore. It's a test of nerves, perception, and emotional endurance. And if this moment is any indication, the darkest twists may still be ahead. Will Colton's quiet strategy pay off, or will it backfire? And can Rinna regain control in a game that's growing colder by the day? Stay tuned, because the Traitors has officially entered its most intense chapter yet. As the fallout from Colton and Lisa's chilling exchange settled over the castle, the game quietly transformed. What once felt like playful dissection now carried a sharper edge, and every whisper in the hall seemed loaded with meaning. Contestants no longer spoke freely. Even laughter felt cautious, as if the walls themselves were listening. The next morning, Rinna appeared noticeably more alert. Her confidence was still there, but it was tempered with strategy. She watched Colton closely from across the breakfast table, noting how effortlessly he blended back into the group, smiling, engaging, acting as if nothing unusual had occurred. That calmness only deepened the mystery. Several cast members began privately questioning what Colton truly knew. Had he uncovered secret alliances? Was he already 2 steps ahead? Or was his cool demeanor simply a calculated bluff designed to throw everyone off balance?
Behind closed doors, conversations grew intense. One contestant admitted that Colton's words replayed in their mind all night, not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't say. In a game built on uncertainty, silence can be more powerful than accusations. Lisa, however, refused to be intimidated. During a one-on-one confessional, she made it clear that she wasn't planning to retreat. She described the moment as a test, one she believed Colton intentionally created to see who would crack first. And Rinna, seasoned by years of reality television, wasn't about to let that happen. At the next challenge, the tension resurfaced. Teams were forced to work together under pressure, and every decision felt like a chess move. Colton took on a leadership role, calmly directing the group while subtly observing reactions. Lisa followed his lead, but not without questioning his choices, ensuring everyone noticed she was still in control of her own game. Other players began choosing sides, whether they realized it or not. Some gravitated towards Colton's quiet confidence, believing he had the foresight needed to survive. Others aligned with Lisa, trusting her instincts and transparency more than cryptic calmness. The castle slowly divided, not by open conflict, but by perception. Social media exploded as episodes aired. Fans dissected every glance, every pause, every half-smile. Was Colton signaling dominance? Was Lisa setting a trap? Viewers debated whether the moment marked the rise of a mastermind or the beginning of a downfall. As night fell and another roundtable approached, nerves were visibly frayed. Players fidgeted, eye contact was avoided. When Lisa finally spoke, her words were sharp but controlled. She addressed the group, emphasizing trust and accountability, carefully avoiding naming Colton while making it clear she hadn't forgotten their confrontation. Colton responded with composure once again. He spoke about the nature of the game, about how fear can cloud judgment, and how patience often reveals the truth. His message was vague but intentional. It left everyone questioning their assumptions, including Lisa. By the end of the night, one thing was undeniable. The balance of power had shifted. Whether Colton intended it or not, his presence now shaped every decision in the room. Lisa remained a force, but even forces must adapt when the environment changes. Producers later teased that this rivalry would define the rest of the season, not as a loud feud, but as a psychological duel. Two strong personalities, two different styles, one game where only perception decides survival. And as viewers watched the castle lights dim, a chilling realization set in. The Traitors isn't just about uncovering secrets anymore. It's about who can remain steady when the tension gets personal. Is Colton quietly controlling the board? Or is Rinna preparing her most calculated move yet? One thing's certain, the game has crossed a line into deeper, darker territory. And there's no turning back now.
Passed inside the castle. The tension between Colton Underwood and Rinna began to ripple outward, affecting every corner of the game. What started as a single exchange had now become the silent axis around which all strategy revolved. No one said their names together out loud, but everyone felt the weight of their rivalry. Colton continued to move with quiet precision. He listened more than he spoke, offering just enough insight to appear helpful while never revealing his full hand. His calm presence unsettled some players, especially those who relied on emotional reads rather than long-term planning. To them, Colton felt unreadable, and that made him dangerous within the game. Lisa, meanwhile, adjusted her approach. Instead of confronting Colton directly, she began strengthening bonds elsewhere. She leaned into late-night conversations, subtle reassurance, and shared skepticism about hidden agendas. Her goal was clear: shift the spotlight without appearing threatened. Years of experience had taught her that influence doesn't always come from confrontation, it comes from trust. At the next mission, cracks began to show across the group. Small mistakes turned into big suspicions. A misplaced vote, a delayed response,
Every minor detail was suddenly magnified. Players started questioning each other's motives, often circling back to the same question: who is really in control right now? Colton's name came up more frequently, but never decisively. Some defended him, pointing to his consistency and composure. Others admitted they felt uneasy, even without evidence. That uncertainty worked in his favor, keeping him just out of reach of elimination. Lisa sensed the shift and seized the moment. During a strategic discussion, she carefully framed the issue as a matter of transparency versus ambiguity. Without accusing anyone directly, she argued that the most dangerous players were those who stayed too quiet while chaos unfolded around them. The message landed, and several heads turned toward Colton. But once again, Colton responded without resistance. He acknowledged the concern, thanked Lisa for her honesty, and calmly reminded the group that overreacting could cost them an ally. His response was measured, respectful, and disarming. Instead of escalating the conflict, he diffused it, leaving others unsure of how to read him. Behind the scenes, producers later hinted that this was the moment the season truly shifted. The game was no longer about identifying traitors alone. It had become about psychological endurance. Who could maintain composure when every move was scrutinized? Who could influence without dominating? As the next roundtable loomed, the pressure was palpable. Lisa appeared composed but focused, clearly planning her next move with precision. Colton remained steady, his confidence quiet but unshaken. Neither had won, neither had lost, but both had changed the game. Fans watching at home began choosing sides. Some admired Colton's restraint, calling it the smartest strategy of the season. Others rallied behind Lisa, praising her intuition and refusal to be silenced. The debate only fueled anticipation for what was coming next. By the end of the episode, one truth became unavoidable. This rivalry wasn't about ego or personality, it was about control. And in a game built on deception, control is everything. With alliances on edge and trust thinning by the hour, the castle felt colder than ever. Whatever happened next wouldn't just decide who stayed or left, it would determine who truly understood the game. The castle entered a new phase, one where every move felt rehearsed and every word sounded intentional. After weeks of mounting tension, the line between strategy and suspicion had completely blurred. Players no longer asked who they trusted, they asked why. Colton Underwood's influence became more noticeable in its absence than its presence. He rarely initiated conversations now, yet people constantly checked for his reaction. A raised eyebrow, a pause before speaking, even silence seemed loaded with meaning. Some players admitted they felt as if the game adjusted itself around him, subtly, quietly. Lisa recalibrated once again. Instead of working against Colton, she began studying the reactions he provoked. Who defended him too quickly? Who avoided his gaze? Who seemed nervous when his name surfaced? To Lisa, these weren't coincidences, they were clues. During a late-night strategy talk, Lisa posed a simple question to the group. Who here has actually changed their game because of fear? The room went still. No names were mentioned, but everyone understood the implication. Fear, not deception, was now the most powerful force in the castle. The next challenge pushed that fear even further. Under pressure, alliances faltered. A miscommunication cost the group valuable ground, and frustration boiled just beneath the surface. When blame started circulating, Colton stepped in, not to accuse, but to steady the room. His calm redirected the tension, earning him quiet nods from players who had previously doubted him. That moment shifted perception yet again. Was Colton manipulating the chaos or preventing it from consuming everyone? Lisa took note. In her confessional, she admitted that Colton wasn't playing the game most expected, but that didn't mean he was innocent. The smartest players, she said, don't need to push. they let the pressure do the work. As night fell, rumors spread that the next roundtable would be decisive. Some believed it would finally expose a hidden strategist. Others feared it would eliminate the wrong person entirely. Trust was so thin that even long-standing alliances felt temporary. At the round table, voices were calmer, but the tension was heavier than ever. Lisa spoke with precision, emphasizing patterns and behavior over emotion. She urged the group to think about influence, not popularity. Her words landed, creating visible doubt across the table. Colton listened without interruption. When it was his turn, he didn't defend himself aggressively. Instead, he spoke about perspective, how fear can create false narratives, and how patience often reveals truth. It wasn't a rebuttal, it was a reminder, and it left the room split once again. Votes were cast in silence. As the group waited for the result, eyes flicked between Lisa and Colton. Neither showed emotion. Whatever happened next, both knew this moment would define the rest of the game. When the decision was finally revealed, gasps echoed through the castle, not because of who was chosen, but because of what it meant. The balance of power had officially shifted, and there was no pretending otherwise. Producers teased that the aftermath would send shockwaves through every alliance, forcing players to reveal where they truly stood.
As the castle lights dimmed once more, one truth became clear. This wasn't just a rivalry anymore, it was a turning point. Has Lisa cracked the code, or is she playing directly into Colton's strategy? And who will survive when the psychological pressure reaches its breaking point? The game is far from over, but it's never felt more dangerous. The aftermath of the round table lingered like a shadow over the castle. Even after the decision was revealed, no one spoke right away. It wasn't shock, it was realization. The players finally understood that the game had shifted from surface-level suspicion to something far more complex. Colton Underwood remained composed, but the air around him had changed. Some players now watched him with cautious respect, others with quiet concern. His ability to remain steady under pressure had become both his shield and his warning sign. The more unbothered he appeared, the harder it became to predict his intentions. Rinna felt the shift too, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned into observation mode. She noticed how conversations stalled when Colton entered the room, how people chose their words more carefully, how even confident players hesitated before challenging him. To Lisa, this wasn't coincidence, it was influence taking shape. Later that night, Lisa pulled a small group aside. She didn't accuse, she didn't dramatize. She simply asked whether anyone else felt the game was being steered without anyone admitting it. Heads nodded. Doubt, once planted, spread quietly. Meanwhile, Colton began tightening his circle, not by recruiting loudly, but by reinforcing trust one conversation at a time. He focused on reassurance rather than persuasion, reminding others that fear-based decisions often backfire. His calm approach made people feel safe, even as they questioned whether that safety was real. The next mission forced unlikely partnerships, and the tension resurfaced immediately. Lisa and Colton were placed on the same team, and the atmosphere shifted the moment they stood side by side. Neither challenged the other directly. Instead, they worked with measured cooperation, professional, efficient, and intensely watchful. Their teamwork confused the rest of the cast. If they were rivals, why weren't they clashing? If they were aligned, why did the tension still feel unresolved? In her confessional, Lisa admitted the truth. Sometimes the most dangerous phase of a rivalry is the calm. When two strong players stop pushing against each other, it usually means one is waiting for the perfect moment. As the group returned to the castle, speculation exploded. Alliances felt unstable. Long-trusted partners began questioning motives. Everyone sensed that something decisive was approaching, but no one knew where the strike would land within the game.
Colton, once again, said very little, but when he did speak, his words carried weight. He reminded the group that control doesn't come from confrontation, it comes from clarity. The statement lingered, unsettling some and reassuring others. Lisa watched him closely, realizing that the game had reached a crossroads. She could push harder and risk exposure, or wait, letting the pressure reveal the truth on its own. Either choice carried consequences. As night settled over the castle, whispers echoed through the halls. Players prepared for another critical roundtable, knowing this one wouldn't just remove a contestant, it would reveal who truly held influence. And as the camera faded to black, one question remained unanswered. Is the calm between Colton and Lisa a truce, or the quiet before a major shift? And when the next vote is cast, will strategy finally outweigh fear? One thing is certain, the psychological game has reached its sharpest edge yet. The final roundtable arrived without warning, but everyone felt it coming. The castle was quieter than it had ever been, as if the game itself was holding its breath. No one rushed to speak, no one wanted to make the first move. At this point, words carried consequences heavier than votes. Colton Underwood sat with the same composed posture he'd maintained all season, calm, observant, unreadable. For some players, that steadiness had become comforting. For others, it was unbearable. The question was no longer whether he was dangerous, it was whether his influence had already done its work. Lisa Rinna broke the silence. Her voice was steady, measured, and deliberate. She didn't accuse, she didn't dramatize. Instead, she reflected on the journey, how fear had slowly replaced instinct, how hesitation had reshaped alliances, and how power in this game wasn't about control, but about perception. Every word felt intentional. Then she paused. Without naming Colton, she described a player who never needed to raise their voice, who shifted the room simply by existing, who let others unravel while remaining untouched. Heads turned, not because she told them to, but because they already knew. When Colton finally spoke, it wasn't a defense, it was a closing statement. He acknowledged the tension, admitted that the game demanded restraint, and reminded everyone that influence isn't something you seize, it's something others give you. His tone was calm, almost reflective, as if he understood the moment had arrived whether he wanted it or not. The votes were cast in silence. As the final decision was revealed, reactions rippled across the table. Relief for some, regret for others. The outcome didn't just end a run, it confirmed a truth the castle had been circling all season. The game hadn't been won through confrontation or chaos, it had been shaped by composure. In the aftermath, players admitted they hadn't lost because they were outplayed, they lost because they doubted themselves. Fear filled the gaps where trust once lived, and the calmest person in the room had simply let it happen. As dawn broke over the castle, the season came into focus. The Traitors wasn't about who lied best or argued hardest. It was about who could endure the pressure without changing, and who could make others change instead. Lisa Rinna walked away with her reputation intact, respected, fearless, and unshaken. Colton Underwood left behind a legacy far more complicated than a title. A reminder that silence, when used carefully, can be louder than any accusation. And as the final credits rolled over the screen, viewers were left with one chilling realization. The darkest moments of the Traitors didn't come from betrayal, they came from the mind. Thanks for watching Golden Bachelor. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next big story.